So this spectrum in the gray here, left to right, is a spectrum of, firstly, website complexity. So that might be a spectrum from simple static sites through to single page applications, sites that load content using JavaScript, or a spectrum specifically of band complexity, from simple bands through to sophisticated bands. And a range of tools have emerged in the market over the last decade or so to respond to these challenges, from the simpler tools on the left-hand side, like data center proxies, through to residential and browser rendering solutions. And that's almost a chronology left to right, but also it's a spectrum of cost that organizations, and on a per million requests basis, organizations may be incurring costs of $80, $90 per million for data center proxies. For residential, that may be in the hundreds of dollars per million, $200, $300 per million, depending upon the site. For a sophisticated site that needs browser rendering and residential, therefore, the multiple requests of a JavaScript site, or that payload is all going through residential bandwidth, that can easily be more than $1,000 per million. And the consequence of that spectrum of costs means that there's no one answer. It doesn't make sense to use one sophisticated tool on the right-hand side to solve all sites. It would just be colossally overpaying. And the consequence of that is using multiple tools. And that is a painful activity, because bands are opaque. They don't give us nice error messages. And therefore, needing to juggle with multiple tools, not just to overcome a ban, that can be done relatively simply using a highly expensive tool, but to overcome a ban at a minimized cost is an opaque activity. It's one of trial and error. We see this with organizations needing to work to get a configuration which solves the ban, to monitor the success rate. Okay, it's above 95%, but now it's dropping over the next few days. We need to do something. Okay, we've got something which is stable, it's working. A few months later, that ban changes, it breaks, there's a loss of data, there's scrambling around to fix that hole. Overall, it's an unhappy experience for everyone, for the development team, perhaps for the customers of that data. It's an unhappy experience. And so a solution to this has to solve two problems. It has to solve bans, but has to be done in a way which is cost effective. Otherwise, anyone is just going to be forced to come back to using multiple tools, so that there's a low cost option for the simple sites.